Now it's for a Super Bowl rematch. Eagles at Chiefs. Chiefs are 1.5 point underdogs at Arrowhead. Not many times you're going to say that in your life when Patrick Mahomes is starting quarterback, which brings you to your point, to your underlying point. No matter whatever you talk about the Chiefs and a certain quarterback and his ratedness, this is an afternoon game, or a late afternoon game, I should say, 1:25 Pacific time. Producer Stone's also a West Coast guy, so of course he puts in the time zone for me. I appreciate that. But no, let's start with the Eagles have the ball. Of course, they beat the Cowboys last week, Thursday Night Football. Weird game to rewatch where it's an Eagles rewatch where it's frustrating and good all at the same time. Going against the Chiefs defense, that's frustrating and can be good at the same time. So what do you think about this side of the ball, Charles? I just want to get your first thoughts on these two units because they're confusing to me.
Are we sure the Chiefs defense is still good though? That's where I'm at right now. Because it's been a while since they played some good defense, honestly. Like even dating back to last year, you're kind of getting back to like mid-season last year is the last time they were like kind of looking at a good unit. And last week against a Chargers offense that was honestly pretty bad outside of Justin Herbert last year. Like outside the Justin Herbert, Ladd McConkey connection, they didn't really have much going on, and maybe a couple of J.K. Dobbins explosives. But with how they wanted to play and the personnel they had, it ended up being a pretty tough year. And last week they came out and kind of shredded the Chiefs defense. It was one of the worst defensive performances of the week. Basically a 50% success rate against an offense that was really limited. Last year, Justin Herbert was absolutely killing them. Quentin Johnson had some really nice plays against their defense last week. I know Amari Hampton didn't have like the gaudy, box score at the end of the game, but he had some really nice runs where he was able to power through guys. So it just kind of feels like I'm not really sure what like the full problem here is. Maybe you're just kind of seeing like attrition, and they haven't been able to replace like all the guys that have been good for them in the past, and that was kind of a rough week one. And even when you just look at some of the guys in the back seven, because this is kind of where stuff gets funny to me, where you start looking back at like narratives and things that you said yourself. Where you look back in the Super Bowl, when they beat the Chiefs, when they beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl the first time they played, and you look back, you're like, man, those young DBs for the Chiefs, like they were able to hang tough, and maybe this is the growing experience, and then. You look back a few years later, like, these are still like a bunch of 4th, 5th, 6th round guys starting.
They're day 3 for a reason.
Right. They're day 3 for a reason. Right. You kind of just got by the skin of your teeth in that game. But now I just think that the talent level on this defense has kind of dropped to a point where it doesn't really feel like they feel like they're top heavy, right? You got a couple stars that are really trying to hold together everything for the rest of the unit, and that's not really sustainable. I think this is kind of a nightmare matchup for them for after what they showed last week. I don't know. I don't think it's going to get like as bad as the Super Bowl just because it's hard for NFL games, even like the best team against the worst team to end in games that are that lopsided. But I still kind of expect them to get bulldozed up front. And I don't know what answer they have for the Eagles wide receivers, if that's an avenue that they try to, to go after where, they decide to throw it a little more because you've got Jalen Watson and Christian Fulton on A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. That's a big talent advantage for the Eagles. So I think this is going to be another tough one for the Chiefs defense. It's not that like Spags has lost it or anything, or like Chris Jones is bad now. It's just I think there's so many pieces that have been lost over the years, and they've had trouble kind of rebounding. I mean, there was a point where like they thought maybe they had an answer for L'Jarius Sneed being gone on this roster. They don't. Right. So they don't really have a whole ton of depth up front. They got a couple guys up front that are nice with Chris Jones and Karlaftis, but the actual depth holding it together, I think it's gotten pretty weak for them, and it showed last week.
Yeah, what you kind of said was like those DBs. It's like, who are the young, interesting players? Okay, we got Trent McDuffie, who's a star, but that's the thing is they don't know where to line them up because no matter where they don't line them up, gets attacked. If they don't put him in a slot, like they put him on the outside. He played really well on the outside last year and this year. In the slot, they were 32nd in success rate allowed on slot targets last year. Jalen Hurts doesn't really target the slot. He targets outside and targets his tight end, Dallas Goedert, mostly. But still, it is a thing that it's just a weakness because Chamari Connor has just got a big target on him. He just got decimated in the slot. I know some of the blitzing stuff kind of catches him, and he has to recover in that. And he's really good against the run, and that's the other thing. The Chiefs are good against the run, but when you go against the Eagles, that's why it's so hard to go against them. It's like, all right, do you have two outside corners that can win against AJ Brown, Devontae Smith time after time? Probably not. Not a lot of defenses are built that way. So it's like what you were kind of getting at. It's like there's just a couple guys. Like Chris Jones was dominant last week, and against the run he was. Like he was in the backfield over and over. You were talking about Hampton not having a great day, and it's like Jones was like a one-man team. But it's just a very specific defense. Like Spags, this defense will get better over the season. Like Spags always layers it after the bye week. They always take a bump. But that's the thing is, all right, who's taking your bump? Like, I'm not like going like, well, I want to see this guy get playing time. I'm trying to figure it out too when I look at him. And I'm like, the McDuffie conundrum is interesting to me. Like, because wherever he doesn't line up is just a glaring weakness on his defense.
Right.
I think that's so funny. Like robbing Peter to pay Paul on your defense. Like, and then I also think, we got that new OC and play caller in Philly. AJ Brown didn't get a lot of targets last week. I think that was a big storyline. Anyone paying attention? Yeah. Who do you think's going to get a lot of targets this week? I think AJ Brown. Like that's a usual classic new OC pressure. Oh God, I got to get him going. Like an owner starts saying something. I'm just thinking from the outside here, past experiences. But no, I think the Eagles have the advantage. I think the Eagles have an advantage here. As I do think the Chiefs will make it a slog in the run game. They can do that. They can make it really, punch you in the mouth there, but the Eagles have weapons on the outside. So it's like, you got to create a turnover. It's almost like early Spags years with when he first got there in the Chiefs, like where it's just like, hey, they just got to create chaos. That's what they feel like right now. The other side of the ball, you got, a Chiefs offense that's there right now, going against the Eagles. Yeah. And Eagles defense that was Jalen Carter-less last week. Has a big question mark at corner, I still think, with who they have out there right now. And just kind of, they got through that game. The Cowboys, I think, surprised them a little bit. And when you're without your best player, it's a little tough, especially against an offense that's jabbing you in the face over and over. Got a good linebacker play out of them. But what did you think of the Eagles defense actually in week one and kind of where the kind of Chiefs stack up with them, Charles?
Ooh. I mean, man, not a good performance for the Eagles defense either. Like the Jalen Carter loss was huge for them. Obviously, because it was very much felt. Because I might be selling my stock in that Jordan Davis contract year after watching. Man, that seemed like such an easy one. It's like, no, I don't know when. Look, hey, I did feel better about my take that the Cowboys' interior offensive line could be a big unit that helps them, get through the season. But we're talking about if CeeDee Lamb didn't have a couple uncharacteristic drops, I don't know where that game ends. Or what the score is by the end of it, because some of those were in pretty crucial situations. So obviously, like this defense, it without Jalen Carter, they can get pushed around a little bit. But that was still a little bit surprising to me, like how easy it was for them to get pushed around just, by losing Jalen Carter. I know you lose some of a lot of the depth that you had last year, but I thought maybe they'd be a little bit more stout in their first game, even with Jalen missing time. So there's still like opportunity for the Chiefs here to have a day where they can move the ball. I mean, even last week, as sloppy as it looked at times, they still averaged 2.63 points per drive, which is still going to be it was top 10 for last week. Still going to make you one of the better offenses in the league. They were still top 10 EPA. Where it shifted, their success rate was way down from last year in week one. They had a 37% success rate compared to where they were ranking top 10 for the most part of last season. But it's funny because I still don't think like this is a great offense around Mahomes, but he's so good. And even with some of the throws that he missed last week, there's still like he took over the game like with his scrambling and was running guys over and making guys miss in the open field and picking up key first downs. So he can still actually absolutely be a generator of offense. But I think that, it won't be quite as tough sledding as it was in the Super Bowl because they're missing a bunch of defensive line depth that was in that game. And I think if you're looking at an angle of optimism, like for the Chiefs offense this week, it's that plus, like you said, you're still looking for another cornerback across from Quinyon Mitchell for the full time. And that's something that Patrick Mahomes can exploit, whether his receiver is great or whether it's not. So I still think there's an avenue for them to win. It's just kind of like, can the defense get Mahomes one last drive, where he has a chance to kind of win it at the end? If they can just hang in there long enough, I think they have a chance, because I think the offense is better equipped to go against this Eagles defense in the current form. But I just get so worried on the other side that maybe he won't be able to keep up with what the Eagles offense is able to put out.
Yeah, that it's just like you can't make mistakes. And that's so hard to play.
Right.
When you got, and Xavier Worthy, he practiced, but he's banged up. It's just kind of like, okay, can Jalen Royals not playing yet? So it's like, where's the juice coming on this offense? The run game is just blah. Like, I mean, Pacheco's not good. And Kareem Hunt's Kareem Hunt. He's old Kareem Hunt. And there's an opportunity that you can maybe run up the middle on this team. But I think the Eagles have such an advantage with their outside rushers against these tackles. Even if Simmons played okay in week 1, he's still a rookie. And you just look at the guys that they could throw at him. Like, I mean, Josh Uche's was like unblockable at times. And that's what he can do. You can run on Josh Uche. That's why he's available as a DPR. But if you don't have talent at tackle or a guy that can keep up, Juwan Taylor can get got. A rookie is a rookie, even if Simmons has been impressive. So it's just, right, they always find answers. They always figure it out, and Mahomes is the best. And so, like, is it just targeting Adoree Jackson over and over and over? Is it trying to get Jahad Campbell on a play action concept, where he's coming up and you catch him over the top? It's one of those things where it's like you said, I don't think they're totally out. Like, they always find answers, and Mahomes is Mahomes, but it's just like, man, it's just one thing after another with this team where it's just like they make it really hard. Like, they like playing on heroic or legendary mode, and every time, everything they do, and they do it for Mahomes, man. Before we get to prediction, I should have mentioned also Landon Dickerson did not practice. He's still banged up with a back. That's another thing. Chris Jones actually might have an advantage. It's Tyler Steen, who's fine, but then Landon Dickerson banged up. But the Eagles are losing depth. Like, that's an underrated thing. Look at all the signings they made in camp and trades, I think, as well, for tackles. Like, they're trying to get more bodies. They cut Kenyon Green. So, like, all right, well, we're already on our depth, that our project at one at right guard, and then now Dickerson's banged up with a back and a meniscus, and he's been banged up all his career. I mean, he's been playing through it. But I don't know. Chris Jones on the interior, he kind of picks who they think the fish is. So I'm curious, too, if Chris Jones could kind of take over one of those guys. That came out wrong. All right, but predictions.
What's the spread here again?
Well, Eagles are 1.5 point favorites on the road at Arrowhead.
Yeah, I think they win. I think they just have a little bit too much for the Chiefs defense. And even if Chris Jones can win like some individual matchups, I still think the totality of both units is a little bit too much for Kansas City.
I know that kind of one of my theories on especially the NFL is who needs a win. And it kind of feels like the Chiefs need this, but maybe 0-2 might put a little more fire up right. them and maybe feel a little bit better. Like, I'm not out on the Chiefs. I don't want to sound so negative. Like, they always figure out some way to patch together on defense or be good sometimes. And then it's Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And like, they have talent on the O-line. Like, they're going to figure out some things to make this talent. Like, all the talent they have, they're going to make it figure. It's not going to be perfect, but they'll make it work. But they're playing the Eagles, and that's just a tough ask.
Well,
I think
it's kind of crazy.
What do you say?
It's kind of crazy to say this about a team that was just in the Super Bowl, but they're kind of like retooling, like rebuilding ish to a degree. Now, I do think that there should be some heat on what is going on in the front office, because you've missed on a whole bunch of picks over the past couple years that has thinned out the depth on this team. But just because they were in the Super Bowl and got Patrick Mahomes doesn't mean they aren't retooling to a degree. And honestly, Chargers Eagles, that's a tough way to start your season when you're worried about some of the depth that you have. So
yeah, I'm gonna go with the Eagles, even though my heart's telling me like Mahomes at home is an underdog is so crazy to me, but my head's still saying Eagles just because the talent. Even if I think the Eagles are reworking some things, on defense, it seems like, trying to get this new personnel in, they acquired some guys. They got Zadarius Smith now, right? Yeah. Zadarius Smith, they got going now. Like, they'll figure out those guys, and there's some weaknesses. I think you can get after them in some ways. I think you can run on the outside on this Eagles team. That's like one aspect, but all right. And I can attack CB2. Like, okay, but that's not like a ton of things I'm pulling at here to have success, especially if Jalen Carter's playing. So going with the Eagles here. But prove me wrong, Chiefs. That's really my statement. Prove me wrong in week 2.